Good afternoon. I'd like to start first with an announcement, one that I'm really excited about. Today will be the first of many where our guys will be out in the community participating in this social justice fund, this collaborative effort among players in the National Football League to support causes, to give back to the communities where they're from or the communities that they play and live in. I've been really impressed with our guys' approach to this, their level of participation. Like I mentioned, there'll be many of these opportunities in the upcoming weeks. Today is our first day. The guys will be out and cutting a check to the Boys and Girls Club of Western Pennsylvania. Being a former Boys Club kid and understanding, the quality services and the opportunities that they provide young people, I'm honored to say that and really impressed by that participation. As we always do, man, I'll quickly review our last performance. Obviously, it was a tough game. It was a rough and tumble game. It was an emotional game. We kind of knew those things going in. You know, oftentimes I stand before you guys on a day like today and outline how I anticipate the game being, and oftentimes I feel like you guys look at me as if I don't mean what I say. We knew that Jacksonville would play us tough. We knew that they were a quality group. We knew that they had a uniquely talented defense, and we knew that they were a matchup issue for us in a lot of ways. We'd been in too many stadiums with them in recent times not to have that level of understanding. I relayed that to you. I relayed that to the guys, and the game unfortunately unfolded in the manner in which we anticipated. But that anticipation, I think, allowed us to endure. That level of preparedness, that level of understanding of how the game might unfold, the nature of the matchup, I think that allowed the guys to remain singularly focused in the midst of some adversity. It allowed them to respond to that adversity and make the necessary plays to get out of a stadium on a less than perfect day. And we acknowledge it's a less than perfect day. There's going to be those days. I talk about that quite often, but boy, you better find ways to win. And for that, we're proud. Obviously, there's some things on the video that are disturbing, if you will, and we got to address those. But the only way that you address those is with continued work and subsequent challenges. And I'm sure that we'll be given an opportunity to respond to that. We got another awesome defense that we're going to see this week. So such is life in the National Football League. Just looking at the game, obviously the turnovers were a negative impact in terms of how the game unfolded. That was one of the critical things that had put them in the position that they were in. I think they were -11 in the turnover ratio, and we talked about that last weekend here, that you're not going to be -11 and win a lot of games. In our stadium, it was flipped the other way. They were taking care of the ball. We were turning the ball over, and that is the central reason why that game was as difficult as it was. But we fought through it. We supported one another in the ways that we needed to support one another. The defense got necessary stops when placed on the short field. The offense delivered at the most critical moment when they needed to. It's good team football, and you know, you learn and you grow in the midst of all of these battles that you're in. Man, it's great to learn and grow with wins. It's great to be in a game like that and find a way to get it done. I think, there's growth opportunity there and hopefully fuel for you as you push forward. You know, we're going to need it. Obviously, we're faced with new challenges this week. We're faced with a similar group as we go into Denver. They're a 4-6 team, man, but they're as battle-tested as any team in the National Football League. They've played the Chiefs twice, and we know what type of run that group is on. They've played the LA Rams. We know what type of run that group is on. They've played the Houston Texans recently. We know what type of run that group is on. So don't expect them to be intimidated by our presence. I know we come into the game on a win streak and all of that, but they've gotten comfortable in those environments. And last week they coming off a game where they finally broke through and won versus a streaking team. So I know that is good momentum for them, and as they look to build, and we're probably what the doctor ordered in terms of the next challenge. We're sensitive to all of that. We respect all of that, but all of that is kind of secondary to us. The process that we go through, man. We got to prepare. We got to feel those urgencies in these moments as we put together a plan, as we divide the labor up, as we decide what people to utilize. We find our rhythm in that area. It's going to get increasingly difficult as we get into the latter part of this thing to kind of find that recipe because, you get less padded practices and so forth as you get into this stage of the year. The totality of injuries and so forth become a factor. So we got to do a good job there. Some of the injury things, we'll see how Marcus Gilbert is. We'll let his availability be our guide. I don't know that he'll work tomorrow, but again, we'll see how he feels in the morning. Same could be said for Stephon Tuitt. We had a couple injuries in game that should slow some guys at the early portions of the week. We'll see how it goes. Chickalo, I think you saw him on the ground at the end of a special teams play at the end with an ankle. I know he's been working hard. We'll see what the early portion of the week looks like for him. And Matt Fowler has a pec that he's been working on downstairs. It didn't limit him in any of his snaps in game, but we want to watch him as we get into the front of the week here and see what it does to his availability at the front part of the week. Further looking at Denver, talking about these guys, we'll start on the defensive side. Von Miller is where you start. We know what this guy can do. This guy can decide to take over a game. We've seen it firsthand quite recently. We had the honor of coaching him down at the Pro Bowl. He went by me some point in the second half and kind of hit me on the hip and said, "I got this, coach." And he did, and we watched him take over a game among all-stars. And I think that, that is imprinted on me. I'm sure it's imprinted on our offensive coaching staff as we prepare to play him this week and the rest of the men that work with him. He's a special player. He's aware. He's physically talented. He's intelligent. He's a scientist in his approach to his craft. It was obvious in terms of watching him interact with the other Pro Bowlers, just talking about the nature of rush and things of that nature, just really impressive professional. You see, I'm sure his mentorship in the growth and development of Bradley Chubb, man, who's a rookie that's got 9 sacks, I think, already. Put that in perspective, I think TJ only had 7 or 8 through all the games a year ago. This guy's on an unbelievable pace. They're a talented bunch. They got some other guys, Shane Ray among them. They'll get in a NASCAR-like group and get after you in that way. They got quality people at the second level. Brandon Marshall, the linebacker level, is back in action for him, man. Has been in the middle of that defense for a number of years. All situations type linebacker. Sua Cravens is a sub-package guy that's really providing some athleticism and some matchup capabilities for him. And you see the positive contributions of his presence. They're really solid on the back end, have always been in terms of their ability to cover and be combative with people, Harris and company. Got a lot of respect for that group, and they're a type of group that's capable of duplicating what we saw in Jacksonville, and I'm just being point blank there. So probably what the doctor ordered for us offensively in terms of meeting some challenges that the journey provides. On the other side of the ball, man, they're finding great balance. They got a young runner, man, that's dangerous. I remember the first couple times I watched him 5-6 weeks ago on Cross Video. I had to get a flip card to figure out who he was, man. But he's quick and fast, young Colorado guy, and, man, make a lot of plays for him. I think you can stop wondering 11 games in. I think he's got a big enough body of work, man. He's a guy to be reckoned with. Inside and out, he's capable of breaking big runs. Keenum is really talented, man. He's good above the neck. We saw him last year and had some success against him, but it was his first start when he was quarterbacking the Vikings a year ago. I think he went on to maybe win 11, 12, 13 straight after that. Got a lot of respect for him. He's a tough guy to trick. You're not going to trick him. He makes good and quick decisions. He's highly accurate. He's very mobile. They got some talented guys to throw to. Obviously, they traded Thomas, but they're not devoid of talent. Emmanuel Sanders, obviously, we got a lot of respect for Prime and what he's capable of, knowing him over the years. And I'm sure he's doing a heck of a job with the young SMU guy, Sutton, who's playing a lot since they moved Thomas. And, man, he's he gets your attention on video as well. Talking about a guy averaging 20 yards a catch in the National Football League over the course of a season, it gets your attention for any stretch of time, let alone 11 or so games into it. So we got our work cut out for us, as we always do. We understand the environment we're going into. We understand the urgency of the team that we're playing and so forth. But such is life in the NFL, man. We embrace that. We better embrace it with how we prepare. And so I'm excited about that, both as a staff and as a team. Questions?
Coach, there's a great video of you coming off the field on Sunday. You're pounding your chest and you're interacting with the players. What was the emotion for you? I mean, you were fired up.
You know, I probably wasn't as fired up as I appeared to be. I just wanted the guys to know I appreciated their efforts and that there's going to be some tough games like that. And we got to find a way to get out of the stadium. And sometimes you just want to show your appreciation for their no-blink approach and their efforts by greeting them, whether it's at the locker room door or as they come off the field. So from that standpoint, it wasn't anything unusual, but I probably wasn't as fired up as I appeared to be.
Did anything from off of what he was asking stem from last year's postseason game, stem from how the game went, stem from...
Are you kidding? No, there was enough in that stadium. Did you watch that game?
I watched the game, yes.
Mike, the situation with Marcus Gilbert, did he suffer a setback at some point, or because this has lingered for a while now?
I wouldn't describe it as a setback. It's probably not, healing as fast as he or we would like, but that's life. I wouldn't describe it as a setback, no.
What is that like a core four coming along? He should be called upon.
I'm sorry?
A core four Jukes. How's he been coming along?
I've been pleased with his growth. The good thing, and it's one of the reasons why we take the thoughtful approach that we do with young swing tackles, we play him at tight end some, and we've played him at tight end some. And so he gets to report as eligible and gets in-game experience. We've done it over the years. We've done it with Villanueva. We've done it with, Mother Hubbard and others. It's a way for a young developing tackle to get in-game experience and play some. So if he's called upon, it won't be the first time that he's played for us. And so we'll expect him to play varsity ball.
Mike, is Ola going to come up? Is he going to start practicing tomorrow?
We'll see. We make those decisions. I think a day like today is a day we kind of have those discussions. I hadn't had him in totality yet. I'm sure I will. But he looked pretty good the latter part of last week. It might be time for that.
He said it on social media. That's why I asked.
Well, that's good. Same thing.
Mike, the dramatic turnaround in dealing with Fournette, first half to second half, was it a matter of adding the third safety with Dangerfield, or did you change your approach in terms of playing it more straight up with them?
We didn't change anything. I think our guys just got comfortable with how the game was going, and we got more comfortable with fitting what it is we were looking at. We were thoughtful about not making any adjustments, to be quite honest with you, and that's why I responded the way I did to the question after the game, because, when you're playing a back like Fournette, him gouging you and him not gouging you as simple as him falling forward or not. You stop him solidly, it's 2nd and 7. If he falls forward, it's 2nd and 5. So he was falling forward some, but it doesn't necessarily mean that you need to change what it is you're doing. You just need to stop the power from falling forward. So we were thoughtful about not changing anything, really. We simply put danger in at times. When they had one wide out in the game, we put one corner in the game. But in terms of the calls and the structure in which we played, we didn't. We just knew that over the course of time, we had to be stronger and stouter and make sure that the power wasn't falling forward. Because 2nd and 5 twice gives you a new set of downs. 2nd and 3 gives you 3rd and 4. You got a chance to win those downs. The first third down we won in the game, I think, was a 3rd and 4. So that's kind of how those games unfold when they run the ball as patiently as Jacksonville was willing to run the ball, and we had an understanding of that, and so we played the game.
How have you seen Vance McDonald grow into some of the success he's had in the last few months of his 15 years?
I don't know that there's growth there. I just think that there's availability there. The only thing that's slowed down significant contributions from Vance in the time that he's been here has been availability. He's had a myriad of nagging injuries and so forth that's slowed down that progress.
Mike, this is the 3rd year in a row that you've won at least 6 games in a row. What goes into building that type of sustained success year after year after?
Again, I don't look at it from that perspective. I understand your question, but I think part of it is just focusing on the here and now. I say often, and I mean it, you better be good enough to win, but you better be continually getting better. And so that's what we try to be. We try to be good enough to win on Sundays, and we acknowledge on Mondays that we better get back to work because you better be good enough to win the following Sunday. And so we take that approach and work hard to live it out and stay singularly focused on the things that are important to us. That's the variables that we can control, our preparation and our play, our analysis of that, and then repeating process.
What about extending a win streak? Do you see confidence build when among the locker room and they start to put those together?
Again, I don't worry about it. I understand that could be a byproduct of it, but I stay focused on the variables that are within our control, the tangible things, the process, prep, play, analysis, repeat process.
Would you like your defense to be versatile, flexible, week to week, or in game as it has been?
I'm sorry?
What's allowed your defense to be versatile and flexible, do different things week to week or different times of the game?
I think it's that perspective that I just kind of talked about. We don't plug gaps. We don't plug leaks. We're continually globally working to grow and grow in all areas. And so we're not reactionary in our thinking, and that allows us to be what we need to be when we need to be it. You mentioned defense, but sometimes we're capable of walking into the stadium and being a run-dominant team. Sometimes we're capable of stepping into the stadium and throwing it every down. Sometimes we step into a stadium, we're capable of no huddle. Sometimes we huddle often. You better be versatile in the National Football League in all three phases, and we work continually to be.
Coach, you mentioned growth. Sean Davis led the team in tackles last year. He had 8 last week. How has he grown, not just as a person, but as a football player, to help you in the defensive secondary?
He is a traffic cop back there, if you will. He occupies the role that Mike Mitchell occupied before him, that Ryan Clark occupied before Mike Mitchell. It is a hub of communication. It's a lot of responsibility that goes with that role. So he's delivering similar tangible production in terms of numbers and tackling and so forth, but this guy has made a dramatic step in terms of what he brings to us because he keeps a lid on it back there. He communicates. He's a hub of communication. He's done a heck of a job of it, and he is evolving. Like we're talking about our team, he's done well, but he's going to do better. And he continually has displayed that, and we expect that because he has been in the lineup, but some of the responsibilities and some of the things that we ask him to do are new to him.
What's the progress with Hargrave? Similar thing with Hargrave, just at the same time?
Same thing, same draft class, no, maybe not. Yes. This guy, his job description is nose or whatever. But there's just not a lot of opportunities for nose in today's NFL. We spend the vast majority of our snaps in sub. And so I've been really open about challenging him in terms of being a sub-package contributor. You don't want to be pigeonholed in this game. The more that you can do. And he's a guy that came with a resume. He's a nose, but, boy, his college resume is impressive in terms of his ability to get after the passer. I think he's got 35, 36 or whatever sacks at South Carolina State. And so want to give him an opportunity to show that versatility. One man's misfortune is another man's opportunity to miss the game. Provided a big-time opportunity for Hargrave, and he took advantage of it.
Mike, you got a couple down and distance and clock management situations that worked out for you that you made decisions on, like, for instance, not using the timeout before the 2-minute warning, and also the decision to make them go for it again on 3rd down and not having on that holding penalty. Do you have guidelines in your head as to a certain amount of time before the 2-minute that would tick away if you decide to call the timeout before the 2-minute? And similar question about the down and distance, when to accept a holding penalty in that regard.
All of those things are interrelated. They're very complex. It happens fast in the midst of the game, and I aggressively play to win. You guys know me, man. I've stood up here long enough. I don't care about this setting. I don't care about these podiums. I don't care about, playing it by the book, if you will. I get my feel based on what I'm looking at in stadium and what I believe needs to be done to give ourselves a chance to win the game. And I'm going to be aggressive in pursuit of it. In regards to the acceptance of the penalty, I wanted to see why they avoided 3rd and long so hard in that football game. You know, I'm just joking. I knew why they were avoiding 3rd and long. That's why I took the penalty. And you see what happened when they snapped that ball. That team was working extremely hard to stay on schedule. We needed splash plays to provide our offense potentially the short field in an effort to win the game. We weren't going to get splash plays on 3rd and 2. So you move them back to 3rd and 10, and you get after them, and maybe you sack fumble them, maybe you pick it. That's how the game goes. I'm not apologizing for that. In regards to the 2-minute, man, I knew that they were going to run the ball on 3rd down. So I wanted to save a timeout because that's how the game had unfolded for them. Some people are going to throw the ball on 3rd down and try to win the game right there. I knew that they were going to run the ball on 3rd down. So if we stopped them, I knew the clock would be running and I would need a timeout. So, just thought processes. Again, I understand that minutia. I understand how what we do is evaluated in today's ball. There's too many talk shows and things of that nature not to analyze it in that way, but I do not care. I'm trying to win. A year ago, we were in a shootout. I onside kicked them. This time around, we weren't in a shootout. I kicked it deep. I look at what I do in stadiums to win, and I'm going to aggressively pursue victory for this football team.
Coach, you just answered the question, but if Ben doesn't get in, would you have gone for the win?
We'll never know, will we? I might be in that situation again. Just know that we were duly prepared for whatever.
You mentioned flexibility. At one point, Coach Fishner and Ben moved Juju to the outside at the end of the game, out of the slot position. Are you getting a sense this season that the relationship between Randy and Ben is more flexible and it's a better flow this season as opposed to your former offensive coordinator?
I'm not getting into that. I'm focused on what we're doing this year. I like the growth and development of their relationship, not in comparison to anything.
But that flexibility to move Juju from slot to the outside.
Juju did that last year. Juju did that last year. He plays inside and out. He's done it really since the day he got here. That was one of the things that really kind of made him attractive to us, his football intelligence, his maturity beyond his years. He played inside and out at SC, so I'm not going to pretend like we're splitting the atom.
What's an example of a tangible improvement you've seen in his game in year 2?
Who's that?
Juju.
Man, just his attitude regarding his role in the run game, his knowledge and awareness in terms of blocking box defenders. Young guys, man, in terms of declarations, identifying fronts, blocking linebackers at times, blocking, support secondary people as needed and so forth. Not only does he have the physical attributes to do it, he's got the mentality to do it, he's got the intelligence to do it. He's Hines Ward-like in some of those things, and I realized what I said when I said that, but this guy enjoys it, and he's embracing it, and I think it helps us. I don't know that we've had a guy that I could even make that loose comparison to.
Mike, you had a situation with Ryan Clark a number of years ago with the sickle cell trait. Do you have anybody on your current roster that has that?
I'm not getting into that, man. That's, private medical information. Just know that if we do, we'll do what's appropriate. But I'm not disclosing people's private medical information. If they choose to address it with you guys publicly, then obviously I'll talk about it, but I'm not getting into that.
That's something you guys do keep an eye on?
I think that's something that everybody does globally in the National Football League and in college football. Unfortunately for Ryan, I think he was a test case in that regard. I think he has changed protocol for a lot of people, and I know that he's personally proud of that. His personal discomfort and misfortune, I think, has really made it a lot safer for a multitude of others at a variety of levels of ball.
Is there anything y'all do as a group or individuals to account for the altitude going into this week?
No, we're going to go play the game.
You guys are 15-1-1 in your last 17 on the road. In terms of the process, what is the key and the difference of going on the road and being successful, and how much more stressful can that be for you as a coach?
I'm not going to act like we're doing something unique. We're not. We focus on the variables that are within our control. We openly talk about things that we need to combat, environmental things, crowd noise, and so forth. We got certain things that we utilize, systematic things that we utilize to combat those things, but it's not anything that anybody else isn't doing, to be quite honest with you. We're just taking them one at a time.
Picture, what makes Dangerfield a good fit for the package, and big picture, when there's guys like him and Ford have been around forever, practice squad guys who finally earned themselves defensive roles, is that something that's heartening to see guys?
We expect those guys to be ready when called upon. We live by that creed. The standard is the standard, and so those guys understand that. In regards to Danger, Danger's got a certain playing personality. You guys watch us in Latrobe and so forth. You guys know what that playing personality is. He was the right guy for the job.
Mike, sort of big picture on Denver, but they won their first 2 games despite the new quarterback and all that. Got off to a hot start, struggled for a bit in the early part of the season there for about 4 games. Have they rediscovered what they were doing well early, or have they changed a lot in the last month to, as you said, be competitive with some very good teams?
I've really been focusing on the development of them most recently because that's the team that we're playing. So I couldn't give you an intelligent response to that question in terms of the totality of the journey for them. There's things that change during the course of the season that make some of those discussions irrelevant. Their September ball has got Thomas on the tape and what a significant component he is offensively. And so they're different in those ways. So, usually when you're preparing to play somebody, particularly at this juncture of the season, you focus on the more recent games and you acknowledge that there's some growth and development and evolution that may be significant, it may not. But you also got to pick and choose because, quite frankly, there's not enough time in our work week to digest, a ridiculous volume of video and in terms of planning. So our emphasis has been on their more recent games. There's enough significant things to look at and focus on there. They've played some really good people. They've played them really close. They got over the hump last week versus a good Charger team. We're going into their venue, so we better prepare with an edge.
Mike, does anything come to mind, micro or macro, that you can attribute the few number of injuries that you have at this point to this year?
I don't. We work our tails off to minimize them, to be smart about how we work our guys, hard and smart. But we acknowledge injuries are a part of the game, and to a degree, you got no control over that. And that's why you spend the time that you do readying everyone. That's why you spend time acknowledging that we're going to need contributions from everyone, guys like Danger, in different situations to get jobs done.
Mike, do they flip-flop Miller, or does he generally stay on one side?
He goes where he wants. I know I let him go where he wanted to in Orlando at the Pro Bowl. I'm sure they do too.
What are the options for trying to block him?
Multiple people. He's a unique animal.
Mike, as the head coach of the National Football League, what is your reaction to seeing a score like last night's Chiefs and Rams?
I have no reaction. Just because that game unfolded the way it unfolded, it doesn't mean if those two teams played again today, it would unfold the same way. It was a great game, sure entertaining for the people that love football. That's the only insight or noteworthy reaction that I have to it.
But the community outings, is that a team organized event, or is that player organized that they're going at the Boys and Girls Club and things like that?
It is team oriented, but obviously it won't be perfect attendance. I think different guys who have different passions about whatever element of the community we're supporting will show up. If you're a Boys and Girls Club guy like me, I'm sure you'll be there today, and maybe somebody else will be there on subsequent days when something really stimulates them. I think that's one of the things that's really awesome about participating in this. The guys get an opportunity to help in ways that are important to them, that things that they're passionate about. And there's a lot of awesome things going on in this community, a lot of things that we support continually anyway, like Urban Impact and the awesome work that they do on the north side and others.
What do you tell your team about their role in the community?
We're members of the community, and we got to ante up and kick in like any member of the community. And so we definitely don't consider ourselves special members of the community. We're simply members of the community, and we embrace all of that holds.
Anything else? All right.
Thank you.